Oh, I don't like this one. I don't like it. This isn't nice. No, I don't want to look at it. It's horrible. Wait, I have to allow myself to dive into this feeling and place is going to be a challenge because I don't want to go there. No, I don't even want to look at it. No, I don't like it. Okay. Oh gosh, I don't want to go. It's like it could be evil. Really evil. This one. Oh gosh. Well, we're gonna have fun for the next 2 days, going somewhere where I don't want to go. I just have to go there. Okay, here we go. I'm scared of this one. I'm scared. I've been all over the world of targets and I don't get scared. This one scares me. I don't react like this even to a scary target. So this one, okay, let's just do this. I just need an element and we can use it and just get to work. Really? What's so okay? What's so scary in here? We have a little bit of green plants. Why is this one so weird? Why is it so asymmetrical? Just keep going, it's just a target. We have a small object which is rising up. There is this massive black, bulky. It feels bad to me and it's like it's everywhere like a darkness. There's a disc which is gray. Has a bit of a border or line there. It appeared to be standing on some stilts a bit. It has a bit of thickness. It's not a sphere. It's a disc. So this is good. We have a thing that's going to be good to look at because it's a, I mean, a target is not going to be plants usually. So finding plants isn't really interesting, but this is something that we're going to look at closely. It could even be the central target. So the bad feeling is this one. Let's just start with these elements. I'm going to probe all of them. We don't like it here. Something isn't nice. Wood. There's some wood material at the plants. Something rises up. Again, it's gonna be the orange element. It goes up. Something dark and black is inside of the plants. I get the sense that someone died here. Heavy, stagnant. Weird. Directly underneath these bushes we have these two blue round things. I don't even have an initial name for them, so we just call them, so it's a secondary element because it came out of an initial element, and I call them two blue round things under the plants. So what I have so far, the green plants, I have these two blue things under, and there's this orange ramp which connects from above to the blue things, and at this orange ramp it appears to be the figure of a man sitting, but it's not a life form, it's a figure. And this orange ramp has green leaves covering it. I do not find any life forms here. No living animals or humans or people. Somewhere I hear a loud boom. This orange ramp is hollow and weak and lightweight. It's old and stale. It almost feels as if it were made of wood, but I'm not sure yet. It is not part of a mechanical part. The figure of something that is like a figure of a person sitting crushes and breaks, crumbles, falls over, has turned to dust. Looks like a mummy. It has powderized. It has no teeth left. And I saw this large, dark gray, round ring in the ground. And within this ring, it's not really a hole, but the space within this ring is lower. And it's all gray and dark, and there could even be inscriptions around this ring. As I'm touching in the bushes, Something has been taken from here. Someone was alive here once, but is no more. Some misery camp here. Some captives were never released here. Some gold items or jewelry were stolen and were never taken back. Some jewelry was here once. We cannot read about it in the papers. Nothing graceful or beautiful here. It all looks ghastly. Some misery was had here. This item that rises, that I have drawn initially as orange, it's as if there are teeth and breakage. And something is nothing glorious, it all just really looks like a big dump. This item has belonged to some people. It is not metallic inside, and it has golden locks of hair, what looked like hair, or on it. It belonged to a life form at one time in the past. And I saw a scene from the past, which looked like large men were having a party. It was festive and with alcohol or beer. And this item is connected to that time and that scene. This item has sunken downward and it is in brown dirt, or there's brown dirt underneath it. It's in a musty, stale place. As I'm probing this black, dark, it's a hollow space with some really bad air. The air must not be ingested. There are lots of hairs here, of a resident, of a very evil man, and I find some papers here. There have been life forms here in this black, and these life forms were having a party, and then something sunk down and we see this black hole ring in the ground again. Brown coloration, something has sunken. There are old bugs here, beetles. No water here, everything is dry and crisp. The life forms that are here in this black, they appear to be dancing around. It could also mean that they're just moving about. It's misty, hazy, dirty, it smells like old fish. There's something unwelcoming, unbenign, a rather unpleasant scene. Old cupboards and stale places, old bones, old stale mud, and then again I hear a loud boom sound. Doing a series of probes on this gray disc, it crumbles. It has something that RB wants to call a jet detonator inside, and a mayhem, a calamity. A focused effort was used in setting it to place. It tells a message of calamities and mayhem. It projects outward, a bad meaning, a bad message. It says, watch out. It has a calamity written on it. It has items on top of it, which I drew here as the orange things on top of it. No water nearby. Nothing more but crumbly pieces. Something about this disc is so that something or someone will be remembered by it. It has been set down on the ground and nobody can take it. It was lifted up from the dirt once. This disc has a message. It has a calamity, mayhem. Some stale bones were set on top of it. No life forms on it. Like no living life forms. There's no water on it. It has no soft parts. A life form owns it. It was made to be seen and was put on public display. It is crumbly, and some other life forms took it down because those life forms did not need to see it or to use it anymore. This disc was not calculating anything. It does not have a calendar. It is a grave message, and grave here I think means serious, severe message. It is not glossy, it does not shine or reflect. A loud boom is heard around it, and then everybody comes to see what has happened. It has been set to detonate. It is a worrisome message. Somebody set it here to be seen. There are no hairs on it. A boy is on the ground, down under it, which does not register as a living life form. And I drew this boy thing that registers as a boy under this disc in the blue. These two blue round things that were under the plants, they can be dragged easily. It moves swiftly around. It is not metallic. It is not mineral-based either. It is just there. It is made of wood and of mineral stuff. I do realize that's a contradiction, but we just write data down. There are no fabrics on it either. There is no glass on it and nothing that shines. And Army indicates that at one time there would have been a bar fight over this item, that people would have been drinking alcohol and fighting over who gets to have this item. This item was made to be dumb. It is rather heavy. It is clubbed down. It has some kind of a powder on it. It is scratchy. Part of it is kind of cup-shaped. And Arby says it is rambunctious. I don't know what the word means, but I know it is a word. It is evil in a way. It has crushed on top of a life form. A living being was at least at one time directly underneath it. It is not gentle. It is made to be rambunctious. It is evil in a way. The orange ramp, which goes up from the blue things, it cannot be moved or shifted in position. It has chipped. It is a remembrance item, something of old glory. It has no glass on it. It has some stale old mud underneath it. This figure of a person which is on top of the ramp, it crushes and breaks, crumbles, it fell over. It has turned to dust. It looks like a mummy. I think I read this already, but it has powderized. It has no teeth left. This thing that is sitting on top of the ramp is not a living life form. It's more like a statue or a figure. It was evil at one time, and it has some kind of a cup on it, whose bottom, the blunt end, is facing upward. There is no water on it or anywhere nearby either. This place is dry. This figure has no clothes on. It has no crown on top of its head either. It smells bad. It broke once, and no one has taken the time to repair it. It has had an autoimmune disease. That is why it chipped and broke. It kind of seems to imply it broke because of itself, not that somebody else broke it. It had a structural integrity problem in itself. I think that's what autoimmune disease implies, even though this seems to be an item. It is old, but nobody takes care of it. It has had teeth, but not in its head anymore. An evil bad man is depicted here, a very evil person. It has no hair on top of its head. It is a ghastly figure depiction. It depicts evil and calamity. It has lost its glory days. It is an old remnant of a bad person. It was chipped, and it was broken that way. It was not wheeled away to an ambulance for repair. No one has taken good care of it. It was left to its demise. It has no camps or residences. It is pure evil, like a god. This large black ring hole in the ground. It is a hollow, a residential campsite. Some bones are there in the ground. It is a hell hollow, a bad place. It is a mixture of good and evil. It remembers nothing of itself. It had life forms dancing on it at one time. It was a dancing site of very bad old rituals, a remembrance of evil, a site of commemoration of bad. It keepsakes. Old bones of bulls are here, of victimized animals. A ritual sacrifice was had. An old bones place, a dusty and old stale place. No water is nearby. Happiness was lost here. Nobody comes here to feel happy. It cannot be lifted. It is a ritual sacrifice place. Old bones are here and stale. No hairs are on it either. The old throne man in a chair is sitting here, and he is as if he guards this place so that nobody will see it other than he. No roads lead to this place, but there is an old campsite where travelers can rest. There are old bones here that cannot be picked up. A madness mayhem was once had here, a lot of chopped up body parts, but nobody remembers that anymore. It is just a remnant. Some hearts were beating here once, but lives were lost. A dancing remembrance, dancing on the fire and on the lost glory. Some old chimney on top, a murder site. This old chimney is basically the shape that I drew on top of it, that is above it and extends up like that, how I have drawn. These old papers are dusty and stale. They have some kind of scribbles or inscriptions on them. Old papers turn to black. We cannot read them anymore. Nobody has read them. They have been left alone. They are from the dancers of this place. The dancers were feeding their gums with cocaine, said Arby. I saw someone who stuffed some leaves or chunks into their mouth under the upper lip in front of the teeth. Some old dinner plates were here of dancers who were left behind. These papers have been sewn shut. It's like they have thread that was almost like sewing with a needle across many times. These papers belong on someone's head and have scripture's notes, and these papers are fuming. There's this white fuming that comes out of it upward. Yellow and old and stale, and I see some bare feet with toes on them. We remember with these papers. There is no water here or nearby. This place is dry. Wrapped over mouths, spider webs on them, old and stale. Not a linen fabric to be worn, is for ritual sacrifice, is a remembrance item. These life forms that I saw who were having a party inside of the black, these people or life forms are endangered. A mishap is being had on them. They are endangered of losing their lives. They have bare feet with toes. They are dancing here to get out. They are remembering this place. They look at lost gold items. They wear and carry wood and some cutlery items like forks and knives, or something similar. There are some children here who were left behind, old dust and stale. No metallics on these life forms, no earth or soil on them. They are not animals. They do not get angry at me. They are confused about this place. They want to get out of here, but there is nowhere to climb out. They are confused. They are in a mess. They have teeth that are still good. They are not angry people. They are very benign. They have sweaty foreheads, no water on them, no resilience on them, which means they are weak. They are held here to be burned. Someone cries here. Someone's head got chopped off. A resilience is lost, which means their strength was lost. They became weak. They are also, just like the papers earlier, These life forms also are fuming, which is kind of a white fog or mist which rises up from them. There is no water on them, they are not wet. A happiness is lost here, they are not happy. And these life forms have bones inside them, which seem to simply imply that they have a skeleton. Someone is eating a food here, and Arby said that they're eating snails and slugs, but it could be something else which is similar. They need more food to feel well, and they have bare toes. There are some people here who are angry at me because they don't want me to see them. Someone is really angry here. Someone is dominating this place. Someone is the leader here, leader of the pack. The others are bullied. Someone is feeling undermined. It is important to remember this place. We are out on a desert, and a desert that is having a snowstorm. There is good luck and fortune to be had here. There is an item made out of wood, which is locked up with a key. It is at risk of being taken or stolen. No one should take these things here. There are people here dancing barefoot, and they bring food to this place. They bring child sacrifices. These people are not angry or mad or evil at me because of the fact that I know that they bring children here. They don't get angry at me because I know that. These people need to make these child sacrifices because they need to eat the child meat. Someone was fought down with a knife or blade. It stinks here, and I encounter some boiled blood. Arby says puzzle pieces are had. These are chopped up body parts, and as I pick up one of these chopped up body parts to push it around, someone says to me, "No, they are mine," about the body part. It didn't want me to take it. It seems there's feces and urine dumped on the ground in a pile, just dumped there on the ground nearby. And it just somehow seems to be close to things, it's not over behind a hill or something like that stored away. It's just there nearby on the ground. It just seems too close by in a way. Like you wouldn't normally do that. You wouldn't leave latrine on the ground just there. It hasn't been hidden or disposed of or dealt with in any way, and it's right there. It's not even far away. There are some streaks of blood clot on an object, which was like coagulated blood. Not just blood, but coagulated. It has been fried, and I had an association to barbecue. Someone cries here loudly. Someone is in an insane asylum, a seeker of blood, a worrisome victim. Someone's head got chopped off here. Some cooked brown steaks of meat. Someone at the target site says to me, "No, you do not belong here. I will not let you to permit you access." Someone at the target site said to me, but was not angry. This grey disc tells of some calamities. There is sand across the disc, message inscriptions. A life form owns it. It is made of paper inside. It has worrisome inscriptions. Somebody wrote it with mayhem in their mind. It is counting time backwards into the past. A worrisome individual made it. He was not benign. He was a fighter, a madman, someone who wanted to take everybody down, someone who had viciousness in mind, someone who broke bones of other people, a shock effect. This disc is made with hate. And this tower that we had earlier, it is located directly behind it. Okay, I've investigated the tower a little bit here and there. Not everywhere, and I didn't go inside yet, if there is an inside. So let's first go through my notes, and then we can look at the drawing and see what I have on the drawing. The tower feeds fuels. There are crushed people inside the tower. There is no anger or hatred at the tower, which, considering everything we have, the tower itself feels very peaceful and calm. There are some gold flakes on the tower. It has been decorated with gold leaf. There is no hatred here. It is a very peaceful place, this tower. It is a remnant of the past, an unbenign past. A bull was made to die here. A body was buried here. Dusty, old, and stale, but once ornamented with gold, and this gold ornamentation has been taken down, stripped apart. This tower has been cleaned, even with soap, so it smells good. There are lots of scarab beetles inside the tower. The beetles feed off the dung. The beetles bring hope to this place. The tower is equipped with mayhem. There are a lot of inscriptions on the tower, texts. There are bones inside, and a man calmly says to me, "How dare you leave this place?" Because I was touching the tower. Smoke rises from the top of the tower. On the top of the tower there is a bull insignia. There are hanging body parts and limbs on top of the tower. These had some red lines around the ankles. It looked like legs and arms. About midway up the tower there is a big hole. There are old runes, like inscriptions, around the hole on the outside. At the top there is a big bird figure. The tower is crushed and crumbled. Someone feels very weak inside. Some crumbly rock. Plants hide the tower. There is a dead body on the tower. And gold ornaments, and I also get orange beige bricks on the tower. So let's just look at my drawing for a bit. The tower seems to be pointy at the top, like a pyramidal shape. And on the top there is black smoke rising, and on the side there is a not as dark smoke or fume rising. I find beige colored bricks on the exterior on at least two different parts of the tower. I find the same kind of bricks. We see a lot of leaning architecture as well, the diagonal lines. There is a door, and we do have that big hole somewhere about midway on the tower. Now, at the top, on the exterior, I saw detached human arms and legs hanging. The skin color, if reliable at this still fairly early stage of remote viewing this one, was not black skin color and not brown. So it was a lighter color. And there were these red lines around the ankles on these detached legs, which may have been blood, but it was almost like it would have been drawn around, or maybe it's just happened. The bull insignia was like the head of a bull. I've drawn it to the side, but it was actually on the center, very close to the top. We also have this big bird figurine nearby. This tower is concealed by lots of green leaves. I had a whole dead body as well, a bit further down. And somewhere there is a door. This red that I drew on the right side, the red is not blood. A red shape is how I usually or always see a living life form initially. So this one that has the red smells very sweet like candies, has bare toes, bare feet. It goes to a bathtub to bathe, or lies in a tub of some kind, which may have a liquid in it. It has long black eyelashes. It likes to rest here. It has a big stomach filled with gold. And along with this data stream, just like any other data, it likes to eat children. It has long hair on the arms. It likes to feel nervous. It feeds on other beings. It likes to be poured liquid from urns. It has nervosity inside. It climbs up to see better. It likes to feed off oxen. It has been brought down here, and papers were written about it. It is feeling very nervous and anxious almost. It has been ripped apart and torn to shreds. It has been beaten. It has a fuming of it. This white fume again, which is not a black smoke, it's thinner, is rising from this life form. This life form is feeling very peaceful and at rest. It speaks something that sounds like a mumble. This life form is a god king. It is a superficial being. It has graves here. It has a bull on its head, a figurine almost. Blue and yellow clothes on. A holy place, a god. And then I get the association to Puma Punko, which all I could say at this point is that that's some kind of an ancient site. Doesn't mean it is that site, but something connects to that word. Tomatoes are grown here, big red fruit, or just other kinds of red fruit that look like tomatoes. We don't know exactly what kind yet. A calamity was had here. The life form has like the head of a bull with horns. I also see a whole entire bull, which I drew to the side on the left. And as I'm investigating this impression of the bull, this bull figure is the same as the figure on the throne chair that we had before, and it is a figurine. It's not a living life form. It is ornamented in gold, which seems to be gold leaf on the exterior surface. But oddly, touching the bull figurine, I encounter real flesh, like human flesh with skin. The skin color again is white, not brown or black. There are real teeth in its mouth, like real teeth of a human or animal. Green leaves or plants grow over it. There's a real skull bone in its head. It has human ears. It is a murder victim. The head hair was black, the skin color was white. This is some very fresh meat. You won't touch our god, someone asks me, but is not angry when I touch the bull. The skull is crushed on this bull. It has had a hemorrhage, which means bleeding. The gods needed this ritual sacrifice, so it was set there to rot, and the gods would take care of it then later. It was burned after a while, and incense was used to make it pure, to take away the beetles that were growing on it, to take away the bugs and the mess. It has a hole in its head for ritual abuse. At this bull, it smells like perfumes. It has been left there to rot. The toes are frozen off. It felt miserable here because of the king. The king needed its life. These children here were made to die because the king feeds on their body. It is a ritual sacrilege. The bodies were left to freeze to death, so that their bodies are intact for feeding. Someone feels very cold here. The freezing is bad here, but there is a chemical that stops the freezing mechanism, and it is that it widens the blood, so they feed on it first. And this chemical also makes their pupils widen into huge. They are not sad when they are here. It is only feeding time for the gods. The bad ones are taken first so that they do not rot anymore. The limbs are broken off. The beetles feed off their nectar. And then I go back to the gray disc. People are stripped of their clothes so that they are naked. There has been a war drum here. There is a dead young man's body lying on its back here. It rose from the dead a long time ago. A funeral was had here. There is a chemical in the blood of this young man. The chemical tastes stingy, bitter. Barbiturates, RB says when I investigate the chemical. The chemical keeps the beetles from eating a part or all of the body. Barbiturates are a powder first, and then it is stuffed into the gums of the mouth. It is an explosive powder if you mix it the wrong way. The chemical will swell up when it gets to soak in liquid. The chemical is sprinkled on top of the skin and on the skull first. A sweet smell from the chemical liquid so that it chases the putrid away with perfume fragrance. Someone was being asphyxiated here with bare hands. There is a lot of putrid fish here on the ground and rotten apples, like a ritual food offering sacrifice that went rotten. Lots of people dancing or just jumping around. There is a leader figure here who gets very angry if others do not follow his command. Here is an apple, you may take it. Someone holds what looks like a soft red peach in the hand and offers it to me. Thank you, I say. There are bugs crawling here like maggots. It smells like wet cement, like clay. Someone's head has been injured. You can eat some of our food if you want, a man says to me. There is a woven basket in the shape of a platter, and it has corn kernels or something similar in it. There is wet cement here. Some jewelry was stolen from the gods and was put on public display. Something here has shattered and has a crack at the back. The gums of the mouth are swollen from the putrid liquid. We are down in a basement. In the basement there is some kind of a monster or beast. It looks like it would be black and on 4 legs and has sharp teeth in its long snout. If you are feeding me, then I will be all right, the monster says. The monster seems angry and almost as if it is growling. It isn't really growling, but it feels like it would be. I encounter a man who, at least at this stage, looks like he has white skin or maybe light brown, and he has no hair on his head. He says to me, "You are back here." I say, "You don't have any hair on your head." I say to this person, "I have been made pure for a ritual," he says, to explain why his hair has been shaved off. It looks like it would have been shaved because of the having no hair. I had a visual of a very, very long corridor which is diagonal, and this corridor has a stairwell or staircase. And around the same time I also saw a sensation of a large pyramid building. The bald man is in a room and he sees me and he asks me how did I get in through the door. He offers me some of the fish to eat that is in this room. He says I can eat as much as I like. This site has a lot of green leaves. It's very lush. And then I hear a chanting, a guttural chant, kind of like some monks. "We are starving here and our children are freezing," someone says to me. And I saw a person sitting on the ground in a chamber. It appeared to be barefoot and it had its knees propped up. And someone was grabbing some food with their hand. I see children on the floor. They're playing with toys. People here froze to death and they ran out of food. There is a female goddess entity here. At first people ran away from it, but then they didn't. And I forgot before I wrote it down what people then did. But they were afraid and ran away from this goddess initially, but then they came up with some other strategy of how to deal with this goddess, so they stopped running away from it. There is some kind of a goddess, and people are feeding the goddess. I'm not allowed to touch the goddess. People tell me not to touch it. And to these people, to have a child is the greatest gift that anyone could ever possibly have, is to have a child. So no other gift could be greater than to give a child to the goddess. So the reason why they are feeding children to the goddess is because there's nothing greater that you could possibly give than a child. It is the most important and cherished thing in this whole world, is to have a child. So what possibly could they give to the goddess that could possibly be greater than a child? So this is the reason why they give children to the goddess. At the target site there is magic and power and ritual sacrifice. There's some kind of a mountain which looks like a pyramid, so I'm not sure at this point if it's a mountain or a pyramid. And someone tells me about this mountain or pyramid, you are not the gods, you cannot go there. I see a body lying on its back. This one is a rotten corpse. The skin looks dark brown. It has full gear of yellow-blue color clothing and a head bandana with tall feathers on the front center of the bandana. This dead body smells very strongly of fragrance, perfume. The soft peaches keep the beetles and bad fortune away. There are lots of spiders crawling on the mummy. Lots of kings went down this line in procession. I saw a king carried on a platform. There is a box with teeth inside the box. The teeth are in the box to keep them safe. There is a man here who is very smart, and he is not insane. And a man who is holding the box with teeth in his hand, he says, "This is annoying when the teeth don't rot, so we have to take them out ourselves." This means that since the teeth do not decompose on a body, they have to pull the teeth out of the body to not have them there on the body, because it doesn't disappear on itself. And then I saw this huge hall. This is seen from the indoors, inside this hall. It is really beautiful. It's very large. I drew this figure of a person just to show the size of it. There are all these plants and leaves inside, growing up the walls. And I see this inside of a stone hallway. It has white or pale colors, and I think some columns as well. So where do we even start? All of these drawings I have made with individual TS probes. Let's see my notes. So the notes are things that I haven't drawn. So we need to go through the drawings, and then we need to go through the notes. I want to do the notes first. So something says Inanna, the goddess. There's a closed door which has been locked from the inside. There is no technology here. It is an ancient site. I see a farmland with cows and a barn and fences. So the alien being I saw 2 times very clearly. So it is either from the target, or that it came to visit during my remote viewing. The being shows me and tells me that it has 3 fingers on the hand instead of 5. I talk with the alien being and it tells me that it needs flesh in order to live. It then shows me the corpse that I had earlier in the session, which I said was dark brown and had the yellow-blue gear and the bandana with feathers. And the alien tells me that this is he. We are kings, the alien being tells me. Well, we kind of need the drawings. The old man I have drawn in the lower left is a human. It is the body, the corpse with the dark brown skin. It has black head hair, it has teeth in its mouth. It appears to be missing the nose, perhaps. It is the same as the body I have drawn in the center bottom of the drawing that is lying down. which supposedly was the same as the alien being. And then we have the woman in the lower right. I have had many children who had to be boiled alive to feed the gods, the woman I drew says. The woman with the wide, thick hair, probably a thick wig, and large golden earrings. They need to eat, she adds, about the gods. And I must do it with my own, she says. Her own children, she means. And I don't always want to, she says. And I see her cradling one of her small children, and she had her legs wrapped around the child and was cradling it, as if holding on to her child before she has to give it away. The child was not an infant or a baby. It was like 3 to 4 years old, something like that. I see a temple with lots of flowers, though I only saw green leaves, but Arvi said that there are lots of flowers. And I see the alien being again, and Arvi says a library of knowledge was lost about this thing, this being, but this knowledge about it can be retrieved again. This being was once a king. So now we'll go through the drawings with you. So, starting in the upper left, I see this long wooden dish, which is long and has a narrow gap or hole space across it. And there is one of those soft fruits which reminds me of a peach. I've seen these large plant leaves, which are, it's a plant of its own. It's very large. It's like a fan, and it's flat. It's not a leaf on a bush or a tree. It's a plant that looks like that, and they're large. And I've drawn them in 2 separate places here. And these are housed indoors in this temple, this stone temple, which is white. They have lots of plants and leaves. And Arvi says there are also lots of flowers there. But I haven't seen any flowers yet, only leaves. And I've seen this checkerboard, which looks like a game. And it has these flat red round buttons on it. And when I saw it, all the buttons seemed to be on this one side. And it has this checkerboard coloration on the board. And I saw a woman with brown hair, and she has a long pink dress. And in the center, on the bottom, this man lying down, it has this yellow-blue clothing, a yellow bandana with blue feathers. And by all accounts, it appears to be a corpse. It's a dead body. And I've seen this alien being, which I drew as this blue being. Now, I remember a previous session not too long ago where I had a very clear visual impression of a dead body, and it just looked so odd. I referred to it as an alien being in my report, but turns out it looked exactly like one of the feedback pictures of one of the victims in the session, which was a photograph of a dead body which was missing its nose and had some stages of decomposition. So it could be the case again that I'm seeing a dead, partially decomposed body, and it just seems right to call it an alien being because it looks like it. But this one's kind of white or bluish. And turns out this alien being is the same as this dressed corpse with yellow-blue clothing and the bandana with feathers. That's why I drew this big black arrow. They are the same. And the old man corpse on the lower left seems to be also the same as the alien being, which would suggest that it's just a human corpse. It's not an extraterrestrial alien being. I'm not entirely sure yet, because the old man corpse that I drew, it also has the same coloration and the face looks identical to the corpse face that is lying down. And the one on the lower left has black hair and teeth and is most definitely a human. It's a man. So I'm still not entirely sure if it's just a decomposed human man or if it's somehow an alien being. That's something I need to find out. But if I had to guess right now, I would say it's a human which has some decomposition. And it could even be missing the teeth, because we have seen this little box where they store the teeth. The woman on the lower right, this woman, absolutely beautiful. It's definitely an ancient person. She has these massive gold earrings, or golden colored at least, which are not even. They have this ruffled shape around and they're rings. I'm gonna guess she's wearing a very thick wig, just from what it looked like and what it feels like. If you look at the brown dots I drew on the bottom sides of the wig, it's like when you have a broom and you cut the thick straw and you can see the dots of the cut off of straw. It's that kind of appearance on the bottom of it, and it's very thick. It's thick. It's thick across, thick on each side, and it also consists of thick pieces. And it's very thick. It's very thick across. It's thick on either side, and it's also very thick underneath of the individual pieces that it's made of. It really must be a wig. And also on top of the head, it's very tall and wide. And it's so beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a dark brown. I don't think it's black. It really looked dark brown. And on the fringe, you can see she has a very wide, big fringe of the wig. I'm sure it's a wig. And across it are sewn lines that are a bit wiggly because it looks like it's been made with needle and thread. There are at least 2 blue lines of thread of some kind decorating across the fringe. I don't think she was wearing makeup. I wouldn't have noticed it. And she has this yellow clothing on, same as the men also had yellow. Now, what is the story we have here? There is a god, unless there are several gods, that are fed human sacrifices. There are humans here who are sacrificing children to feed the gods. And we found out earlier it's because a child is the most precious thing you could possibly have, they think. So what better gift can you possibly give to a god than a child? This is why they give a child. It's not because of wanting any harm to the children. It's not done out of anything sadistic or evil. They see it as giving the greatest gift to the god. But we also remember that initially they feared the gods or God. They were running away from it. But then something changed in these people, and they learned how to deal with the god or gods. And this seems to include giving children to feed the gods. And they believe that the gods eat the child, eat the flesh. I'm still not entirely sure about one thing. So we have this body, which is same as this kind of looking being is this one, which is a king. This is king, 100% sure it's a king. And it's also same, I think, 98% sure that it's this one, which is a human. And if this is a human, and if it's same as this, it means this is a human. A decomposed, partially decomposed body, which means this alien is simply a decomposing body or a mummy of some kind. I've had that before in a session where I had a corpse and I thought it was an alien, but it was a corpse. So this is one body. But then we have many child bodies. I'm not sure if it's that we have this king body and we have child bodies, or if it's somehow the same. If this is maybe far stretched, speculating, maybe this is one of the children of this woman. We don't know the full story yet of which body is which, and if we have two different kinds of bodies, one king and then the children, or if it's all just the children. But we do have a king body. We will keep working on this. I see a dark room which registers as a museum, meaning RV says it's a museum, it feels like a museum. And there's a child there, and it tells me to be quiet. The child tells me that it is not yet an adult man, which implies this child is a boy, and that since it is still a boy, it does not have fully developed male genitalia, and the child says that is why it is okay to sacrifice him. This implies that an adult man, because he would have fully developed genitalia, he as an adult would no longer be suitable as a sacrifice. These drawings are also based on the TS probe. Each drawing is its own TS probe. I've taken some notes on things that I did not draw, and then some things I just drew without writing. There is a cow here that was cut up, and a bucket of body parts. There is a school where they teach people how to read. It was like a blackboard, like a chalkboard, with a wooden frame and thin wooden crossed legs that hold the board up. And then I drew the woman with the pink dress again. Arvi wants to call the woman in the pink dress Queen Hatshepsut, and Arvi has been using that name for a long time in the session already, but this is the first time where I write it down. It could also be that the woman simply reminds Arvi of this person and wants to use that name. It doesn't literally imply that it is this person. There was a history about the challenges of a people, which had been written down on stone columns, and someone is erasing that history by removing those columns that had that text written on them. So nobody knows anymore that history about those challenges that a people had. There is a box, a small box, which contains at least one human finger, which also has the fingernail. Arvi said fingers, implying several, but I only saw one finger in the box. There could be more. Someone uses a string to pull out body parts from a presumably dead body through the mouth of the body. There is a beetle which is important because it renews life. It takes dung and brings it back to life by laying its eggs in the dung. New beetles emerge from this dung, so it is life returning. And then I wrote, I have the feeling that this might be why feces was on the floor nearby that we saw earlier in the session. Maybe it was placed there so that this renewal of life could happen here and at this time through these beetles. Music is being played, women are dancing, and I see woven wicker baskets with fruit. A man who is lying on his back, he has a solid gold mask over the face. A woman in a pink dress gets on top of him and has sexual intercourse with him. There was this sense of it being for one last time, even though the man is a corpse. The man I drew just earlier in the bottom left, which is furthest to the left, is the man who died, and the one who was engaged in the intercourse that I described just earlier. We had to eat our own child before we die, the man tells me, so that we can live again, he adds. He tells me that the woman who RV calls Hatshepsut is his wife, and that she is a really nice wife because she plays the harp when he wants to sing. And this conjured up images for me. I could imagine beautiful scenes of him singing and her playing the harp as a married couple at home. It was a lyre, a handheld harp. He tells me that ever since he was a young man, he was always groomed for this, and that he was never given a choice. A choice of what, I ask him. A choice of what he does, he says. Let's look at the drawings that I made. So we have some kind of education where they teach students how to read. And I saw this bird with very long wing feathers. And there's the beetle, it has that kind of a nose. And I saw bodies wrapped in white, and this includes like a V shape at the forehead, and some kind of a gold coin is placed on the forehead, and it's a dead body. And here's the woman I drew again, with the big wig and the pink dress. Notice the creases on the bottom hem of the dress. And here are two drawings of the man, and this is the man who becomes the corpse of the king. And he presumably, I don't think he has a wig, I think it's his own hair. The man who is the king, he said that he has to eat the heart of a child in order for him, the man who eats the heart, to continue living. There is this drum which has round metal pieces set all around it. You see 4 here. And these are sunken inward. And each one is made a little bit different, so that when you hit these with a ball on the stick, each one makes a different sound. There is a regal cat here, a jaguar or a cheetah. It's a big yellow cat with dark spots. There is a fish market stall with like a canvas roof, is what it seemed like. Now this is interesting, the next one. There's a stack of weapons that consist of vegetable or plant which has been harvested. This contains a poison which will be used to poison the enemy. It looks like a stack of celery with the bulb on the bottom without roots, and with the many stalks upward from that bulb, but not as green as celery, more white. The bulb is white, and these have been tossed neatly so that all are facing in the same direction, but in a pile like that. The tower, which we had early in the session, I see it again, the same shape as before with the chimney top kind of shape. And the whole thing consists of those orange bricks as far as I see. And it is a mausoleum. And at the front bottom, it bulges outward, so it's not just flat. The mausoleum tower has a little door, which I drew on the right side on this top drawing. And there is a box or block in front of the door preventing entry to the door. There is a text on that box which says, "Those who enter will be cut down immediately." So, obviously, I go in through the door, hesitate, of course, but it's the target. When I go in through the door, I first arrive in what RV calls an antechamber. The antechamber is a small room with rock walls. There are so I go in through that door, which is hidden behind a block, and I come into this small room called the antechamber. Once you stand there, you see a small staircase leading downward. Now, if you reach the bottom of that small staircase, you then have an equal size, more or less, small staircase, which goes back up again and leads to the next door. It's like V-shaped in this small stone wall room. And this dip where the two stairs meet furthest down in the middle is meant to be a dip where people get killed. People would die there for some reason. There's something there in the middle. Is it a trap? Is it a curse? A poison? I don't know. But there's something person is meant to die when they reach down that first stair. So if we go in through the second, first of all, so this second door that we encounter, if we make it through those two stairs, that door has several lock mechanisms of different kinds on it, on the side that we see. And maybe, or also maybe not, but maybe this second door doesn't even look like a door, so you don't think there is a door there. Could be. So if you go through that door, which I can move through walls and through traps and through lock mechanisms. Hidden blocks don't work either, because I will sense that there is a door behind it, so I can go anywhere. You can't hide doors from me, and you can't hide access. So I feel really guilty going here, actually. I've been really shameful of going past all of this, but if we go through the second door of the antechamber, we make it into the mausoleum. And there is a very long diagonal staircase which goes up inside of the main building. We saw this staircase earlier in session, I remember. At the base of this long stairwell, I meet at least two of the alien beings again, and this time they tell me they're not human. They say they live here, and they tell me that this building is a mausoleum for a king. And I become apologetic. I say, I'm sorry. Is it okay if I'm here? I promise I'm not going to touch or steal anything or break anything. And then someone says, we did offer you food earlier, and reminds me of the soft peach in the hand. And someone tells me that I didn't write all this down, so some of this on camera is extra. And someone tells me I could go in and fetch the food that is there and take the food out of here. And I think I asked them, why would you take the food out? Don't they need to eat? But maybe the food is old or something. But it's like there was a task. It would be okay if I'm here, because I could do some task here. I could help by bringing the food out from here, away from here. So everyone's been very nice to me, but I'm very apologetic, especially with all these traps and locks and concealment. I feel like I shouldn't be here. So I'm being very, very humble and kind. So one of the alien beings, which looks exactly like what I drew earlier, the alien, the bluish white one. Now there's at least two of them inside this building. One of them tells me that when this building was made originally, whoever made this, they had also dug a lot under the ground. So on this drawing here, you can first see the block, which is concealing the first door. And you can see when you go in through the first door, you get into the antechamber, where you encounter the two short stairs, and then the second door at the opposite end of this small antechamber. And that if you go through the second door, you will find this long diagonal stairwell which takes you straight up. It's very long. And you see I have drawn the mausoleum, this big beige building, which is beige orange colored bricks on the outside. And you see this white space is this dug out hollow. Now notice the shape of this dug out part. It has this diagonal leaning on the sides. It's not straight walls under the surface of the ground. It's not two linear straight walls dug down. It's leaning, which makes sense. I think it's more sturdy to build that way, but that's the shape. It tapers as you go further down. I'm not entirely sure what the shape of the bottom is, but the sides are diagonal. And you will find another stairwell which goes straight down, and it's diagonal, and it's very long as well. So I'm excited. Do you want to go upstairs or downstairs first? I want to go downstairs right away because this is something really cool. I want to know what's down there. So the staircase that goes down under the ground level, there is a block at the top of these stairs, so you don't even see where the stairs start to go down. It's concealed by a block on the floor. And if you were to see under this floor block, when you're on the ground level, you would then see the stairwell that goes down. So as I go through that block, so that I am at the topmost of the downward stairs, I see there are lots of beads or gems against the wall, on the wall, furthest down on the wall. Something feels heavenly here, delirious, like if a spirit flies and leaves the body, making it a heavenly feeling of flight or flying. There is a plate of food here set on the floor. It is for the gods. Someone tells me about the plate of food. One of the aliens, who this time I see is a bit short and is wearing a blue jumpsuit, says, "We built this original place." I have encountered this before in remote viewing or channeling, that the Egyptian pyramids, that there would have originally been an ancient alien civilization a long time ago which built some structures there on the site, and that another civilization much later would have built something on top of or over those original buildings. And this is the same, again, the same story, the same feelings, the same what it looks like. It's exactly what I've encountered before. At the downward staircase, now we're on the stair going down underground level, there is rotten fish here, and lots of red gems, rubies. There's some papyrus or paper parchment at the stairs. This paper was written by the Greeks. And the rotten fish smells really bad here. As I go further down these stairs, I really recognize that the older alien civilization, when you go further down, you can see that it turns into that blue, purple, black magnetic stone further down. It's their material. It's a beautiful type of stone and feeling from this ancient alien civilization, which you encounter when you go further down these stairs and look down there. You see the older, original material. You feel it, you see it, you are taken back to that. And it's amazing. I really enjoy it. Once you reach the bottom of these stairs, you see that there is a horizontal section of a passageway. And this horizontal passage is referred to as a garden path. It has real or painted or depicted plants of green. As I go into the garden path, The energy there in this passage is delirious and white and feels like a surge, but it's positive, it's benign, it feels good. Children used to play here in the garden passage. Now we have something really beautiful. The horizontal line represents the surface of the ground, and you see the building which is sitting on the gray line. That is our building that we see from the outside, or at least part of it. You see that the part that is underground, under the building, is the same size and shape as the part that is above ground. You see the inside of the building on the surface has the upward staircase, and you see the same placement but opposite the downward staircase under it, which goes under the ground, inside the underground part of the structure. On the bottom of the downward staircase, you see the horizontal section, which is called the garden passage, which makes me suspect that there would be a similar horizontal section in the building above ground as well. Now, the red above the building at the very top, that is the sun, and yes, it's red, not orange or yellow. The idea here is that since the building is a mirror image, if you have the sun directly above the building, you will also capture the sun to be underground, under the building, at the same equal distance. I will be exploring the region underground where they would assume that the sun would be located. Maybe they have something there. Maybe this is a way to have the sun accessible. This makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's really beautiful. As I'm moving to see what might be at the end of the garden path toward the right, at the end of the green horizontal section, someone who feels like the spirit of the king tells me, death is down here, life is above. This all told me that above ground, as I suspected, there would be a horizontal section that is mirrored. Death is down here, life is up here. So they have again the opposites. I go to the death room at the end of the garden passageway. The death room has walls that are painted red, kind of a brown red color, and there are lots of black coloration ornamentation also, and maybe some columns as well. I was afraid to go into the death room, but the king told me that it is okay because he is here, and he seems so kind to me. It's just star magic, the king says to me and smiles. Is it? I ask him. The stars give us the power to be here, he tells me. Do you have a lit torch now? The king asks me. Earlier I was told to take a torch just as I was coming to the top of the downward stairwell, and I presumed at the time it would be dark there. One of the aliens of the original people who built here first, a long time ago, says, we pretend it is a tomb so that no one will know what its original purpose was. So this site, even though it is now fitted to be a tomb and has been reworked by the later civilization, maybe humans, this is not its original purpose, and the tomb is just a cover-up to conceal what this site actually is. Not what it was, but what it still is being concealed by the tomb. So I went up to the life room, and I didn't stay for long because I didn't like the feelings there. The best way I can describe it is it felt like a human male person. Something about the scrotum, something something weird, maybe a ritual or something done, something with fertility, life. I just didn't want to stay there. It wasn't comfortable. I did see before I left that there is a diagonal, narrow, very narrow passage which goes through the stone wall in the life room, goes upward, at the end of which is a small square hole opening, which acts as a window, or it looks like it would be a window. It's very narrow. You would never fit a human through this diameter. Maybe a human arm could fit, and the wall is very thick, so this window shaft, which is diagonal from the life room to the outside, it's a long passage because of the thickness of the wall at that place. I felt a little bit into the region which would have the inverted sun underground, and it actually surprisingly felt like the moon and not sun underground. So maybe the sun is above, that the sun is above and the moon is below. It felt like the moon, I'm not sure that it is, but I also saw something reflective shimmering in that region, as if they would have had some kind of mirror or liquid, something to make it look like the moon. And then I started feeling that a lot of bodies have been crushed here at this site, and RV said these bodies have been crushed in order to keep this place going. So something in the upkeep of keeping this place going has, for whatever reason, required for people to be crushed, destroyed, and it felt painful, agony. It felt like they were going down these stairs, actually. I'm not even entirely sure. I didn't look closely. I want to explore the outside exterior wall and detailed appearance of the building which is above the ground next. So if we are outside again at the exterior of the building, there is a thick stone wall which is white or almost white, which is close to our building. The manager yesterday, which I titled Old Man Corpse on the drawing, I have seen him sitting cross-legged on the floor higher up in the tower mausoleum. This is the body which has the dry, peg-like teeth, eyes closed, black hair, and its body seems to be wrapped tightly in white linen. The people who are still alive think that this corpse sitting there is still alive because the fingernails still grow on the dead body, and because the dead body after it has died will still defecate, so they fully believe that this corpse body is sitting there, like in a meditation position with crossed legs, that it is still fully alive. There are drums and music played here, dancers. The big ring that I found earlier as well, this is located directly underneath the mausoleum tower. Severed arms and legs are hanging up like Christmas ornament decorations, inside or outside the mausoleum. There are flowers. Inside the mausoleum, there is a room inside which has at least one child. The child has had cocaine leaves stuffed into its rectum so that it is heavily drugged and will not suffer during the slow and gradual dying process. The child has been left there to die. The child also has what registers as opium heroin in its system, which also serves to ensure no pain or suffering during the death process. The child has halitosis, which I logically think could be ketosis from starvation. These children will die from a combination of freezing to death as well as starvation and/or thirst. The exterior of the mausoleum is covered in green leaves. A stampede of adult humans are feeling chaos. They are running or walking fast in one direction. It seems they have just left or abandoned several children up on a mountain or higher up somewhere. The children are of varying ages, from toddlers to small children. The adults feel that the children will be well taken care of alone there, because the bird will take care of them. Because birds take good care of their own bird young, so the bird will also take good care of the human children who are left alone there, without any adults. Underground level, inside the mausoleum, if we have gone down the long downward stairs, there is a man with a blade, and he is killing a row of children. He makes sure the children are dead, but he is also tenderly making sure the children are all right. There is a row of neatly placed bare cranium bones lined up side by side, as well as several rows on top of each other. Each skull is facing perfectly forward. They believe that these skulls are still alive and have a soul in the head. And here is a drawing. I draw the king, which is already a dead body. I find on his leg muscles that there is rigor mortis. The queen wife lies down next to him on his right side. I think she is alive at this point. I see a child that would be sacrificed. The child has these red markings on the forehead. And there is at least one dead body which is hung to the wall of the exterior of the mausoleum. It is naked and has several red lines around ankles and around other areas of the body similarly. This body seems to be young because of the smoothness of the skin. The skin color appears to be white, not brown or black. It is hung there to be seen. Now notice that this body, dead body which is hung on the outside wall of the mausoleum, I always see it with white skin. And the child sacrifices also seem to have white skin. But the king and queen I only see with his very dark skin. A man from the target side who seems to have a crown which has big blue feathers that are facing upward. He shows me the starry sky, and he tells me that the stars are messages that give them instructions on what to do. When a star is blinking in the sky, it tells them to look there in the stars, and a shooting star tells them which way to look in the stars. These people do not believe that when a body dies, that life ends or that it is dead. They have no issue with ending a human life prematurely. There are bones in the mausoleum. Those bodies have been carefully cleaned to remove all the flesh, and I think they were boiled to remove the flesh, because I've seen them boiling the dead bodies in order to remove the flesh. And I think the flesh is eaten, actually. I've seen indications of that earlier in the session. Some of the bones from the skeletons were given back to their living families, so the complete skeletons are not here. The disc element, which we saw early in the session, is in the center of the mausoleum site, and it is like an almanac. It corresponds to the starry sky, and it needs to be turned manually by people so that it keeps up with the turning of the stars in the sky. This calendar is black, and it has not been decorated to look pretty or colorful in any way, and appears black and dark. It has a central, upward bulging disc with inscriptions on it, and surrounding it is a black cogwheel which can be turned. The almanac disc contains a bad message, like about doom. This is what the disc looks like, which is the star almanac, and the gray thing is dome-shaped on top in the center and has inscriptions on it. And around it on the base is this black cogwheel which is turned manually by people to keep up with the turning of the stars in the sky.